Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Wasted Potential podcast. I am one of your hosts, Justin Jangles, science lad, and I'm here. You know what? We've done this you're going to introduce yourself this time.
Yeah, I'm your other host. I'm LSP. Justin brings the charisma, I bring the research, and then I pass off Justin's work as my own. That's what we're here to do.
I think that's the opposite of what normally happens, but, I'll take credit for all the work. We are doing this for the clout, right?
You are a very modest person. Yes, we are doing this for the clout. I've been thinking of messaging Elon Musk and seeing if we could get him on. Try a Timcast method here.
How many DMs did you send?
None. Fucker has me blocked.
What?
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
Kanye, on the other hand. I think we got a good chance for Kanye coming on.
I think if we drastically alter our approach and start using some, the right slurs, I think we can get Kanye on.
I'm a racist.
Sure.
Great start.
There we go. All right. We're both racists, and we think that there's a central Jewish conspiracy, and we have a podcast. Kanye, you want to come on? I think that's the only qualifications he has nowadays, right?
Yeah, seems to be. Well, he walked out of Tim Pool's interview, so we have to be extra anti-Semitic. Alex Jones,
you can't push back.
Yeah, that was a trip.
So we have our topics, and technically Kanye West isn't one of them, but goddamn, 85 things happen every single day. So
yeah,
I think the audience just has to expect that we're going to be out of date. This is like a retro podcast by the time it actually comes out.
The funny thing about this is what happened last time we hung up, because we kind of predicted the future, which wasn't hard to do. And then not even a day after we met, was it the day we met? The bodies weren't even cold. A mass shooting happened. Yeah.
So if everything goes to plan, this podcast is going to come out the day of recording or the very next day. So it'll actually be kind of recent. But the last time you heard from us was back on, we recorded on November 17th. So 2 weeks ago from the time of this recording is when we actually last recorded. And then Thanksgiving happened and we had our debates with our family members and stuff like that. So
you didn't debate your family, you debated a dinosaur skeptic.
Yeah, that too. So the 19th, 2 days after that, me and LSP, we met and a bunch of other friends, we met in Plano, Texas for a debate conference. And my debate opponent was noted dinosaur skeptic Alex Stein.
You killed him.
And he is dead.
He's an extinct person now. Yeah, good job.
Yes, if you Google Alex Stein, you will see he unfortunately passed away during our debate. He is dead now.
I can't believe he didn't know you could wash your ass.
I did. Well, it is something that
all straight people. No, Justin, not all straight people are like this. Some of us understand. It's just a little water back there in the shower. We can do it.
You can scrub it a little deeper than that. You can get the loofah. You can soak it up.
I go in with the finger, buddy. I'm like my own proctologist there. I'm just right up there with a bit of soap.
You got to get a little buffer zone, right? You got to get in there just a little. You don't have to go all the way into the small intestine. There's a whole
cavern in there. I'm not going in the cavern, just in the entrance, right?
Just
get the entrance clean.
Right.
That's good enough for me. The cavern, that's on the insides for a reason.
Right, you can only see so much of the cave from the entrance. You don't have to clean the entire thing, but make the entrance presentable. You're right.
What that was revealing of was that Alex Stein had a very poor sex education, or didn't have one at all in school.
That's why he's having sex with all these ladies on a blimp, which seems impractical.
Are blimps even still a thing? I thought we abandoned them after the Hindenburg exploded.
There's if you Google how many blimps there's currently in circulation, I think. Oh, and let's do that right now. How many blimps are there? There are currently about 10 operational blimps.
Wow.
Goodyear has 4 of them.
I don't think he's really a pimp on a blimp.
Well, if he is, he's one of the 10. That's a very exclusive club. You think they've got
10 pimps on those blimps?
I think at this point, there's got to be one on each, right?
Do they have
hard to fill
pimp Hunger Games? How do they decide which pimps go on?
It's not hard to find 10 reputable pimps to put on each one of these blimps, all right?
He is reputable. He invented a rap song about you on the spot. That was pretty fucking
cool. He did.
Cool.
So when you hear, it's kind of strange that you have this right-wing troll and he's making a rap about you. So imagine what that sounds like in your head. It probably isn't how big my dick is. and how I fucked my husband with it. I don't know if that was meant to be complimentary, but I listen to that to get in the mood these days.
What they call sex deviant, we call stud.
Mm-hmm. So that's the lighthearted part. Another thing that happened during that debate is there was this kind of wishy-washy panel on the direction America is heading. So there's like this 4-person panel with Stardust, Mouthy Infidel, Ariel Scarcella, and Sean Fitzgerald, aka Actual Justice Warrior. And I actually declined that panel. I was invited to be on it because the topic was, is America headed in the right direction? And that's really, really broad. If you've listened to this podcast, you know that I have a very surface level understanding of American politics. So yeah, it was going to be... I don't know enough about foreign policy or economics or I don't know enough about. I can't even name a third thing that involves politics. That should tell you how much I know. But do you remember what they talked about for a full 50 minutes of that debate?
Well, no, because I only bought tickets for 3 shows. But I did hear secondhand they really, really were laying it thick on the trans people again.
It was trans people. It was trans kids. That was
prescient because there was something else going on at that same exact time. So good talk. Good talk.
Yeah. So for 50 minutes, they were talking about trans people and trans kids and how that's the indicator of whether or not America is going in the right direction. And Ariel Scarcella brought up, he said, I think you can call what these teachers are doing grooming. And I flipped her off, and you can actually hear her object to that during the debate. Even though I'm not there, you can feel my presence because I took issue calling teachers groomers when they're not groomers because that could be dangerous rhetoric. Calling teachers if there's one group in the United States that most of America are going to justify violence towards, it's going to be pedophiles, right? No one's going to feel bad if a pedophile gets his ass beat or shot or whatever. So labeling a bunch of people who are not pedophiles is almost an incitement to violence. Well, that was our debates. That conference was held on November 19th, and literally hours after that, in which I was objecting to calling teachers groomers and an entire fucking panel on whether or not drag queens are trying to sexually exploit your children. A couple hours after that, a person shot and killed 5 people at a Colorado gay bar known as Club Q.
Club Q.
Yeah, Club Q. 5 people were killed and 25 people were injured. Literally hours later.
So that happened. No less on the Transgender Day of Remembrance, and with an American classic, the AR-15, Armalite Rifle 15. I'm sure there's a snippy Onion headline about how this happened again in the only country this always happens in, and we're just shocked that it happened. But there really is something formulaic. So what I wanted to start on, Justin, was you predicting the future, which wasn't hard to do, and it's not hard to do. So in this piece here titled under This Is America on the outline, we wrote gun control. This is what you said on the last podcast. Gun control is always going to be an issue because there's always going to be another mass shooting in about 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure that there's a big mass shooting that we saw this last week. They are all background noise at this point. Violence is just kind of a way of life. I think a lot of people want to be conditioned into thinking that way, want Americans to be conditioned into thinking that way. And I think a lot of outraged Americans don't want to be conditioned into thinking that way. But for better or worse, no, for worse, it is that. In this country, it is piss easy to predict that mass shootings are going to happen. They tend to follow the same formula. And of course, the targets tend to be the people that society's ire is most directed to. So the Charleston church shooting after there was a big Black Lives Matter protest, or in this case, a shooting of an LGBT nightclub after there was a giant groomer panic. So that happened.
Yeah, and it's hard to call this. So all the facts aren't in. So even though this happened a week and a half or so ago, almost 2 weeks ago, we still don't have all the facts on what the shooter's motive was. But I think we can make some predictions that I'm willing to put money on.
That it's going to happen again. I'm pretty sure you can win this.
Yeah, it's going to happen again. That the motive of the shooter did not come out of nowhere.
No, it certainly didn't. People are products of society. I remember asking while you were on that stage a question to the panelists, and I think that question was pretty straightforward and easy to understand. So either the panelists were too stupid to understand the question, or they were too dishonest to engage it on its merits. My question was something to the effect of, do you agree that there is a type of speech that can incite such hatred that even without directly calling for violence, people can be driven to violence? And the answer to that is obviously yes. You can make people hate somebody so much that you don't actually have to direct violence to them. It's just going to happen because there's so much hate. That seems very obvious. That's hate speech. It's textbook hate speech. They turn that into there is no speech. There is no speech. There's no such thing as hate speech that is violent unless it's directly calling for or threatening violence. And that's what they kind of settle on. So I kind of wanted to devote this episode to dedicated to talking about how conservatives enable violent behavior. And I know some people, I mean, for the criticisms I've heard, some people are kind of annoyed that this is another episode where we have to talk about a major conservative issue. But we have to talk about this. We have to talk about this because this just happened. And rather than any sort of solidarity in grievance, what we had was pushback. We had people who apologized for the shooting or justified the shooting or did something else to kind of like minimize its impact. The reaction of the father wasn't particularly good. The reaction of media personalities such as Tim Pool was pretty atrocious. There's no accountability and there's no introspection, and we need to talk about that.
Yes, fuck yeah, definitely. So something that I've thought about, like in the George Floyd protests, like a lot of people were like, there was that initial, like everyone condemned it, sort of. Everyone condemned, like, yeah, this is obviously this is a racial, like there is something fucking wrong with what the cops did. The interesting part to me, the thing that like really like showed a lot of systemic racism is immediately after that, you saw a lot of people justifying it.
Yeah, the like fentanyl in his system.
Fentanyl in his system. He shouldn't have been, I don't know, resisting arrest or something. He had a sordid, seedy past, and that kind of like, you know, that kind of justifies it because he's not a good guy. And so it's kind of okay that this happened.
Esteemed colleague of ours, Sydney Watson, jumped on that exact talking point when she described George Floyd as a meth head porn star that the country is losing its mind over. If that doesn't demonstrate that Black lives don't matter, I don't know what does. Because there's just no way to refer to him that way.
And we saw, wouldn't you know, we saw something real similar with the Club Q shooting. Mm-hmm. So do you want to talk about the specifics of the shooting first? Like, you want to talk like that first, and then talk about the response to it?
I think it would probably be better to talk about the shooter first, because I think he matches a trend we see. So this shooter was a guy named Anderson Lee Aldrich, who has a troubled past. And I'm sorry to say he has a troubled past. To some degree, I feel sorry for him, like having read about him. He was a victim of a lot of homophobic bullying as a teenager. He had his own little bouts with depression as a result of online bullying, including the apparent doxing of his information. But neighbors say, what's that?
So thanks to our free and open press, I actually wasn't able to see the article on homophobic bullying. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
I posted the main points, but it's what I quote there is directly from the Washington Post. But yeah, so he was at some point under a different name targeted for bullying by his school, by people at his school. Online insults came to him that ended up being posted to some website. I don't know if it's like Kiwi Farms or something, but it's clearly a doxing. So he's been victimized in more ways than one, and he's had a rough childhood. His father and his mother split at an early age. I think he was like 1 year old when they split. They divorced, and he ends up changing his name in an attempt to avoid his father. His Anderson Lee Aldrich is not his birth name. He has a dead name, which I've noticed everybody has been keen to respect on the right for some funny reason. But it has to do with who his father is. His father is a porn actor named, I'm going to use his stage name, Dick Delaware. And again, I want to emphasize something that I uncovered while looking into this, both him and his father. They both seem to be plagued by mental health issues in their own right. It's very clear when watching his father speak that he is mentally ill or suffers from some history of drug abuse or something like that. Like, he's got some problems. It's very clear. Now, that's not to excuse what he says per se, but it is to kind of frame it, right? Put it in a certain context. This is a guy who is young, who is angry, who was abandoned by his dad, who is ashamed of his family, who's been bullied, who's got all sorts of issues, who was able to get a gun and direct it at a community of people that the internet loves to hate.
Well, surely there was no like incident that happened before the Club Q shooting that would have like clued law enforcement officers in on that this might be a dangerous individual, right?
You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, there was a. So what was like 1 year prior to this? Like there was a bomb threat. He was threatening to like kill his mother, and like this is why I was like kind of trying to lead you into telling people about it.
What? Because you're going to stumble over your words? All right, let me lay it out.
There you go.
Anderson Lee Aldrich has problems, and he has a dicey relationship with his mother. And sometimes you're stuck in a house, somebody you don't like, shit explodes. I think anybody can relate to this. Shit explodes, and he doesn't have a lot going for him in life. So he is in this standoff with his mother, where he ends up getting arrested. The police arrest this guy, but nobody files any charges, and the details of the case were sealed. So he likely went through some sort of pretrial diversion or something like that, and the case ended up getting sealed. Which, again, I don't want this to be seen as an indictment on the system per se. The system should be offering people second chances. There's a legitimate question about whether it should be offering this person a second chance, though, in a situation like that. But if Anderson Lee Aldrich had never committed a crime before that, it's certainly a question worth asking. Now, that criminal record would, under Colorado's red flag laws, stop him from getting a firearm that he could acquire legally. But nobody applied or tried to trigger the red flag law when he was acquiring his weapon. Nobody wanted to stop him from acquiring a weapon. So no charges are filed. The case is sealed. Probably dismiss it as part of a PCD program. And he's able to acquire a firearm, which he loves. His neighbor and friends talk about how he liked to go and frequent gun ranges all the time. It's easy to get a gun in this country. It is piss easy to get a gun in this country. And up until the moment that he started shooting somebody, for all intents and purposes, he was a law-abiding citizen. Red flag laws are designed to stop incidents just like this, but they only work if they are used. And they weren't used.
There's a whole national debate that probably should be happening about like what constitutes a second chance. It's like, what do you mean by a second chance? Like, does that mean you don't go to prison? You get to have a job, you get to live freely. Like, should that second chance include your right to like own a firearm that you can use either against yourself or against other people? I think there's like degrees of what a second chance could constitute. And it's hard to say that this, how old is this kid? Like 21 right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So 20-year-old kid, I don't know, man. It's hard to say like, oh, your life, I don't know if your life is ruined if you're never able to get a firearm again. I don't know if your life is ruined.
Well,
you'd have to take a lot of convincing.
Well, I mean, let's live in reality. It could be if you live in a rough neighborhood, right? There might be some legitimate reasons why somebody with a dicey and horrible past with run-ins with law enforcement might actually want a gun. And there might be some legitimate self-defense purposes for that. So,
sure. Then you look at like, well, what happens if they're causing the rough neighborhood?
Well, we don't know that he was, right? We don't know the circumstances of anything because the case is sealed. Now, it's from the looks of things, he probably was, right? But if nobody's filing any sort of a red flag petition when he's acquiring his firearm, the law is not going to work no matter what.
White people can have a little bit of a bomb threat that evacuates neighbors as a treat.
Yeah, it's actually funny.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, second chance. As far as second chances go, people need a chance to redeem themselves. I truly believe that. I think a lot of people fantasize about a restorative justice system that looks at the totality of the circumstances and decides what's best for people. And for all I know, that might have been what applied to Anderson Lee Aldrich. But the fact remains, a crazy person was able to easily acquire a firearm. And that can only happen in this country. And every time we have this debate, conservatives push back against any attempt to stop that, to stop this kind of thing from happening. For example, I'm not so sure that the petition, the red flag petition, should have to be filed by police or family when he's trying to buy a gun. It should be invoked automatically, right? A judge should look at that and based on the totality of the circumstances with respect to this kid, decide on his behalf whether or not he can acquire a firearm. I don't think that's unreasonable. But conservatives look at this and they think this is evidence of big government coming to take your guns. They think if you've done nothing wrong, there should be no reason that a law can infringe on your right to acquire a firearm. In this case, though, he did do something wrong.
He just didn't do something wrong that showed up in the system.
Yes. So this is
he got forgiveness.
Yeah. So I mean,
he got his second chance.
I still defend second chances.
Yeah. Sometimes, I also still defend second
Sometimes
chances.
your second chances are going to go out and kill some people too. Yeah, take that risk, right? Because
we have to kind of eat that bullet. Like our conservatives really, really terrified of like bail reform because we're letting all these criminals back out on the street, even though 93% of them, I think that number's pretty close, show up for the court hearings, don't reoffend. The vast majority of them they become they don't reoffend. They're not dangerous to society, but it's that 1-2% that do. That's the reason we have to condemn all of them.
What's really annoying about that is every time conservatives attack bail reform, they always use these little Mickey Mouse one-off circumstances to say, look at what bail reform has done. And it's just generally speaking, it tends to be pretty successful. But try arguing statistics against somebody who just lost a family, right? It's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
We also got to deal with these individual anecdotes. Anderson Lee Aldrich would be easy to dismiss as just another statistic if you're a conservative. They don't want to deal with this sort of stuff. Now, the statistics are on our side when it comes to how LGBT people are targeted for violence. There is no denying that. Well, we can also talk about individual circumstances where things failed, where the system failed. And we should. We should talk about what inspired this shooter to shoot gay people and trans people in the first place. And we should talk about how he was able to do it, what security measures were taken, what failed, what didn't work. And in this case, nobody filed a red flag petition when he tried to get a gun. That's what failed. That's how he was able to get a gun. If he wasn't able to purchase a gun legally, he might not, but for that, he might have to take a different method to carry out a mass shooting or even a mass stabbing or some sort of mass crime against gay people. If he wants to commit a hate crime against gay people, he needs a different avenue to do that. That's the point of laws like this. It's supposed to make it hard.
Yeah, something a lot of gun advocates bring up a lot is that what is a firearm? It's a force amplifier. It's whatever you want to do, be it defend yourself or whatever, the gun is going to be a force amplifier. So there's sort of a compelling reason. Hey, if you're a 105-pound woman and you're going out, maybe it would be nice to have this force amplifier to help defend yourself.
I would suggest women do that.
Yeah, but that also applies in the opposite direction. If you fucking hate a group of people and you want to cause them harm, well, now you have a force amplifier to cause them more harm. If he had a knife, he would have gotten a few people. He wouldn't have gotten 30 people. He wouldn't have injured 25 people and killed 5. There's just no honest way to say that the gun is not the reason that the body count is so high.
The gun is absolutely the reason the body count is so high.
Mm-hmm.
There is
one of the reasons.
Yeah, there is evidence.
Yeah.
What's that? What's the other reason?
Oh, so the other reason the body count is so high is because he decided to do the attack in the first place. Oh, and so what motivated that?
I mean, we don't actually have the motive.
We don't have a motive yet. They're investigating biased. They don't call it hate crime charges. What's it called? Biased, some sort of bias law. What's the actual name of the thing?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's not called a hate crime. They use different language for it. It's essentially they're investigating him for hate crime. They just call it something different.
Damn, even white people get the politically correct version of this shit.
We do.
Everything is nice for white people, right? Genocide is just more people are having sex than you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like that. We get the nice version of genocide. We get the second chance and the little bit of a bomb threat as a treat. We're doing pretty good.
Fucking white people, am I right?
If police are unfair to one of us, now we know it's a problem.
It's a scandal.
That's a scandal. Holy shit.
Do you remember that clip of the blind guy walking with his cane that got harassed by the cops?
Was that during the BLM protest? The one guy who was knocked on his...
No. It's in Florida. He came out. So he was walking away from jury duty or something, and some cop harasses him, and he says something like, "What are you, a tyrant?" And the cop says, "Yeah." And they basically arrest him for resisting. It's a clear civil rights violation, right? They're going to get a lawsuit. But I just wonder, because everybody was pretty much agreeing that, man, the cops fucked up. What if he was black? I just know
he was standing up for his rights.
Yes,
he was standing up for his rights against a tyrannical government. He's an upstanding citizen. What he wasn't was mouthy and disrespectful or a hoodlum. Those are the things
if he was black,
wasn't.
That's what he would have been.
Yes.
Odd time to think about it. Anyway, as far as patterns go, I want to read the section from The Guardian because I think they summarized it better than we could. There is a grim routine these days to the mass shootings in America. Some element remains constant from shooting to shooting. Usually, the gunman is a young white man, and usually he has a history of violence against women. There will have been mental health episodes or previous run-ins with the police, but none of this history will have stopped him from getting a gun. American mass shooters tend to use automatic or semi-automatic long guns, the kind that aren't available to civilians in other countries. Justin, edit out that stutter. Almost always, they are purchased legally. There's a morbid randomness to American gun violence, that fatal combination of scarce mental health treatment and superabundant firearms that makes America, and only America, a place where mass public massacres are common, even when the nation is ostensibly at peace. But if the Colorado attack was enabled by America's pervasive gun violence problem, it seems to have been prompted by the tenor of right-wing media, both broadcast and online, which over the past years has turned a virulent, conspiratorial, and obsessively hateful eye towards the LGBT community. Hey, that's your community.
Hey, that is my community. Yeah, so The Guardian put it really, really well. And I think that highlights, like there's three components of the there's two real components of the national conversation every time this happens, and it happens a lot. It's guns and mental health. But
and we never do anything to solve either of those components.
It's just talking. It's like a way to sweep it under the rug. Like, it's almost like a way, like, well, if guns, there's an underlying problem that can get overlooked if that's all you're focusing on. Because there is a third component of this. I don't like the mental health argument a ton, because especially in like motivated crimes, like the Christchurch shooting, or like when a black church gets shot up, or like when someone like goes and targets black people at a supermarket or whatever. If it's just mental health, there's the implication that, like, well, who they targeted was incidental. If it wasn't black people, it would have been someone else. If it wasn't a Muslim church or a synagogue, it would have been someone else. If it wasn't a gay nightclub, he would have been someone else because, they're mentally ill and that's what they do. That's not the case. There's motive. Like, if you were going to motivate if you're going to motivate the public towards violence, if you're going to engage in stochastic terrorism, if you're going to like try to instill a hatred in a certain group, to otherize them, to call them cockroaches, to dehumanize them to the point where like you're justifying violence against them, who are the first people who are going to act on that?
I mean, of course, it's going to be crazy people with mental health issues.
It's going to be those crazy mental health. Those are almost like the secret soldiers, your secret troops that you're kind of relying on to do these things.
Secret soldiers is a pretty good descriptor. I think some people on the right don't even realize they have them, which is tragic, because I think if you just applied a little bit of rationality to this, you would understand that there's a direct link, a causal link, between rhetoric, which dehumanizes a certain group of people, and the violent actions inflicted on that group of people. So,
a couple of years back, you did a really good video and a lot of research on the Rwandan genocide. Like, what was some of the language that they used in that? Because I remember that being like really striking. That's where I got the cockroaches line from, right?
Yeah. So there was this group of this Tutsi paramilitary group called the Cockroaches. That they were a little bit like akin to like the Nazi werewolves. So there was a lot of fear at the time of Rwanda about the RPF invading. So this Rwandan defense force made up of Hutus called the Internalized regularly train against. They would do drills to fight against this invasion, and they would cast their enemies as cockroaches. This was this sort of a term of art used for this one militia, but it ends up getting expanded to all Tutsis. Really, every Tutsi and their mother is a cockroach, and there's some dehumanizing implication behind it. There's something that needs to be squashed, and there's something that needs to be eradicated. And I think you kind of see that here, except instead of the word cockroach, the word we use is groomer, pedophile. This one group of people that suffer from their own violent issues. They've been broadened to be applied to an entire community of gays, lesbians, and trans people. And they've been weaponized for political ends, and it's produced violent results.
It goes back to like, what is the one group in society that is universally despised? What's pedophiles?
I was going to say furries.
Furries. Okay, so one of the two groups that are universally despised, one of them is pedophiles. And so you can do, if like LGBT people, if queer people are starting to get some sort of acceptance, well, the entire like, the thing that like put off queer rights for so long was like this implication that like, oh, in order to make more queer people, since, they can't reproduce, they have to indoctrinate and recruit young people. So this is not a new thing. This is
actually the talking point of the moral majority from the 80s, the Ronald Reagan's moral majority.
Yeah. And so that persists to today. This isn't a new playbook. They're playing on old fears. A lot of people remember that.
To flesh out that history, what else was happening in the 80s?
AIDS epidemic.
AIDS.
God's wrath.
God's wrath, truly.
Why are all these queers dying? Well, it's because they just can't keep their dick in their pants. They just have to fuck everybody they see. They can't they just can't stop themselves from going to orgies, and this is their comeuppance, all right? It's their own fault that they're like this.
This was more or less the talking point of the moral majority. And for their part, the Reagan administration just laughed at this at press conferences. They kind of called it the gay plague, and Ronald Reagan was like, yeah, I don't really care. For the most part, they claim they shifted some research funds for the CDC towards it. But this disease had killed like tens of thousands by the time Reagan leaves, and he just never really seemed to care about it while it's happening. It ends up being a punchline, and all the while the conservative Christian right uses this to castigate gay people as sexual predators who are diseased predators more than anything else. Diseased predators who are preying on people. The gay rights movement couldn't move forward because the image of the gay person had been defined by AIDS.
Isn't that a brilliant tactic? Marginalize a group to the outskirts of society, force them into terrible circumstances, don't give them any sort of support, don't listen to any of their problems, and then when they inevitably start to have a ton of problems, use that as further proof that they deserve them.
It seems to be a working formula. I just wish we could do it to the right. That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke.
It's a joke.
We gotta stop with the violent rhetoric. The conservatives are the terrorists here.
It's like the self-fulfilling prophecy of like, here's the reason why like color blindness is not the best thing, because like black people have been like forced into these situations where they are in poorer neighborhoods with worse schools, and like they are subject to worse neighborhoods with more violence, and it feeds in on itself. They're in these bad situations, so that of course they're not going to thrive. They're not going to make as much money. They're not going to build wealth. They are going to be more prone to criminal activity because fucking that's the fucking life you grew up with, right? Cops are going to see like, oh well, you know what, black people are more likely to commit crime, so we got to like be racist and decide that we're going to profile black people, and that it's a self-perpetuating thing. Like the horrible circumstances you're in justify themselves because people growing up in horrible circumstances are not going to be their best selves. And so you can look at that and say, well, that means they deserve it.
Yeah, there's an element of societal disgust attached to it, I'm sorry to say. And it's the same with gay people. I mean, when you see a story about how there's a gay virus killing gay people, I mean, the first thing you're thinking to yourself is, well, it's because them gays like to fuck each other in the ass and they're not very sanitary. And then, of course, the disgust that comes with that fuels only more disgust and bigotry. And tragically, this is the story of gay people in America, that they are regularly targeted. On that note, holy fuck, I don't know. I didn't put this in the outline. Maybe I should have, because this just clicked to me. I even saw this half-assed apologia for the murder of Matthew Shepard. Like not even a day after the shooting. Yeah, somebody was like, it's time to put away the myth that Matthew Shepard was killed for being gay away. He was killed because he was a meth dealer or something like that. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
What the fuck?
I'm sorry. You don't tie a meth dealer to a fence post and beat his ass with bottles and rocks because he's a meth dealer. Like, this was because he was gay. He was picked up at a gay bar. Sorry, just random aside. Yeah, no, there's an element of disgust attached to this community that is primarily promoted by the Christian right, because we have a deep problem in this country with homophobia. And the part that really kills me, I'm going to say it, fucking, hang on, what's an Uncle Tom but for gay people?
House F slur. Will you get demonetized if I say it?
Oh, I've been demonetized years ago. Just knock yourself out.
Okay, well, we can bleep it. House faggot.
So there are conservatives that drive me nuts that are trans or that are gay. And they are the chief promoters of this idea that homophobia or transphobia isn't really a thing. And I know they know better. I know what they're trying to do is provide cover to people who support them because they're friends and because it means their jobs. I know that for a fact. It is plain as day. It is obvious.
There's also an ameliorating aspect to that. Like if you like if you insulate yourself and pretend it isn't happening, then it's not going to affect you. It means that you can see yourself as separate. You can see like any sort of like widespread discrimination against gay people or trans people, whatever group you are a part of. That's for them, all right? I'm one of the good ones. All right, I'm doing things right.
The
I'm not making a big deal out
Alliance.
of it. Yeah, the LGB Alliance, the gays against groomers. They can like pretend that they're one of the good ones and like that it's not going to come back to them.
There's a lot of clout that comes with pretending you're one of the good ones.
Yeah, because they hate identity politics, don't they?
Except for they hate it works in their favor.
Identity politics are bad, and all these people are focusing on their identities too much. But it's really important that you know that I'm gay, but I'm not like those other gay people. I'm a good gay. Now identity politics matter. That's why Candace Owens is a thing. Fuck it. There's a here's a joke that one of my friends told me. You know, a black guy, a Hispanic guy, and a gay guy walk into a bar, and the bartender says, "Hi, my name's Alex Jones. Welcome to the white supremacist convention." It is really, really strange that Milo Yiannopoulos, Nick Fuentes, only works and Kanye
for this
West.
Particular moment, just so we're clear.
I know, but goddamn, what a moment it is!
What a weird timeline we're living in. I think the Matrix is glitched. I think Neo actually broke that shit. Anyway, Tucker Carlson.
Anyway, so let's talk about all right. So there was a shooting at a gay bar. 5 people killed, 25 people injured. Really, really likely, the facts haven't come out yet, very, very likely that it was motivated by an anti-gay or anti-trans or anti-queer in general bias.
But he's non-binary. Non-binary person can't commit a hate crime.
Sorry, they're non-binary.
Yes.
Which makes perfect sense, you know, it makes perfect sense. If you're non-binary, that means you can't hate trans people or gay people. That's why there's no such thing as that's why there's no such thing as a house faggot. That's why we don't have a term for it.
We'll have to invent one. If this podcast ever takes off, both of us our careers are ruined, just so we're clear.
No, you didn't say it. I said it.
Oh, no, believe me, my career's been ruined from a whole lot of other shit.
Well, that's a whole... We can't have the podcast take off because then, you know, it wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't be called a wasted potential anymore, right? It'd just be called potential. The potential podcast. That makes it sound like it's a question.
All right, so let's talk about the George Floyd style justification of why the shooting was just either it was gonna happen, yeah, it's tragedy, but you know it's gonna happen. What can you expect? Or just outright fucking celebrating.
So, well, then let's go down the list. Tucker Carlson wants people to stop sexualizing kids. This is on the damn. Are the bodies even cold when he does this? Tuesday evening, he has this graphic about sexualizing kids and has a guest. I'm sorry, not a ghost. He's not being haunted. At least I don't think he is. He has a guest who says that shootings will continue to happen until we end this evil agenda that is attacking children, which just seems to me to fan the flames even more. Yeah, it truly is. You're making me hit you. Look what you made me do. On this note, I resent this idea so much. I hate this idea. And I'm probably going to be fucking more left-wing than you on this. This idea that drag shows are sexual drives me fucking nuts. Just because I'm an artist, right? And I've gone to drag shows and I've been with my family, and you know what? They're fun. I've seen them before. It's a costume. It's a performance, right? I don't go if I took my kid to see Chicago, you know, at the Majestic Theater, you know, am I basically a pedophile because they're all wearing fucking fishnets and doing innuendos about sex? Fucking get real. This is America. You have rights. You have freedom. It's not against the law to take your kid to a drag show, and it shouldn't be. It's a form of entertainment, right? It's not a fucking strip club. And this applies. The same conservative bullshit applies when they say shit about I apply the same standard to Hooters. They don't care. They don't care about Hooters.
Where's the libs of TikTok but for Hooters?
There is none. Nobody gives a shit. And you know what? That's because Hooters girls are hot, right? Gay people are icky. Trans people are icky. Hooters girls are hot.
Yeah, a lot of so a big thing that the left will do, which is good, but it almost misses the point, is that they'll point out okay, well, you're concerned about all these drag queen story hours and stuff like that. Why haven't you posted about Hooters? Why haven't you posted about kids going to Hooters? The viral story of I hate
when the left do that too, because it implies there's something wrong with taking your fucking kid to Hooters. You know what? There's not. I went to fucking Hooters as a kid with my own family. It's a thing. There's nothing more American than degrading women as sex objects. All right, let me just enjoy this American tradition. And more than that, fuck you. I'm going to eat where I want. I'm going to take my family where I want. Like, why have we surrendered the debate on parental rights to fucking conservatives when just a year ago, these were the people whining about it the most? We shouldn't. You have rights in this country. Drag shows are not ending. Drag queen story hour is not ending. Hooters isn't fucking ending. And I'm going to make sure of that. Okay? The answer to this can't just be violence. The answer to this has to be mind your fucking business. The answer to this has to be, well, it's their kid. You cannot. I'm sorry. Just last thing. Conservatives need to drop this dipshit idea that you can groom people into being gay or trans. I would challenge them to fucking try it themselves. Just try being gay. If you can't do it, if you can't make yourself fucking gay, why the fuck do you think you can convince somebody else to do it?
There's a reason why it's a law in this country that you can go to an R-rated movie as a 7-year-old if you have an adult guardian with you, because we do value that parental rights so much. The parents get to decide what, or the parents, or at the very least, a guardian gets to decide if something is or is not appropriate with their kids. And so, I don't know why this isn't brought up more. R-rated movies have actual like sex scenes. Like seeing a drag queen isn't sexual. Drag queens wear a lot of fucking clothes. They wear a lot of clothes. All right. And it's weird to say that it's inherently sexual because it's primarily done by gay men for gay men, right? So you don't attract gay men by dressing up like a woman. That's fucking weird. Like that's just not. That's not a part of it. Like if you wanted to have a strip show at a gay club, you could just have a strip show. You could have hot dudes taking off their clothes, and that happens. And there's a reason that those are different things. It's why there was that Chris Rufo tweet, like we should stop calling them drag queens and start calling them trans strippers because it has a more lurid set of connotations. Like, I don't know how.
That's the worst part. They say that shit aloud, right? They just reveal the game out loud, and then somehow everybody just ignores that the game was just stated in plain terms.
Yeah.
There is a very deliberate attempt to cast, I don't know what the proper term would be, to blanket gay and trans people as sexual deviants. So Tim Pool, for his part, joined in on this. He wrote about the Club Q shooting. We shouldn't tolerate pedophiles grooming kids. Club Q had a grooming event. How do we prevent the violence and stop the grooming? Now, the obvious implication here...
People are calling for more violence. I don't think legislators will stop the grooming. People will not stop calling for violence, so you tell me what happens next. It's basically saying, like, you're making me... it's the left's fault. It's the drag queen's fault if they get shot. That's it. There's no other
simply
explanation for that.
But more than... Well, it's also a call to action. No, it's more... It's a call to action.
Yeah.
Quote, we shouldn't tolerate pedophiles grooming kids, end quote. On its own, in a vacuum, that would be a fine statement. He's saying this about a gay night bar, right? A gay nightclub that just had a shooting.
Yeah, the grooming event, the quote-unquote grooming event was a drag brunch the next day. That was the grooming event, a drag brunch. And this isn't some like weird esoteric, like he's using grooming in the wrong way, but you know, he's directly saying grooming is pedophiles. He said it in the exact same fucking tweet. So grooming is pedophilic. How is a drag brunch? How is that sexualizing children? What do you think is happening at these drag brunches that the parents are at? The parents bring the kids to these things. They're there. What do you think is happening? No, this is like fucking disgusting, and it is stochastic terrorism. There's that word gets overused, I think, a little bit. This is not one of those times. This is stochastic terrorism. You are justifying violence. That is what he's doing. He's justifying violence because, like, it's stopping pedophiles, and there's no greater cause to violence, especially violence outside the law. If the law is failing to stop pedophiles, like, you got to take matters into your own hands. He's justifying that.
That phrase, we shouldn't tolerate pedophiles grooming kids, is very much a call to action. And the one way we would stop them, the one way I think pretty much everybody fantasizes about stopping pedophiles from grooming kids, would be to visit violence upon them, which is in itself is its own problem that we should have that conversation at some other time. But in this case, there's no pedophiles. Nobody's grooming kids. And our answer to this shouldn't be violence. When he asks, how do we prevent violence and stop the grooming? He's doing this rhetorically. Like, he knows full well that there's a direct link between the rhetoric he uses, the accusations of grooming, and the violence that people receive over those accusations. Matt Walsh knows this. Tim Pool knows this. Tucker knows this.
Tim Pool, the guy who has every other thumbnail is like Civil War. He he has some sort of like culpability in calling for violence.
Yes.
What?
He fans the flames of it. Absolutely. The thing that kills me, nobody ever wants to, there's no fucking responsibility with conservatives. Conservatives are like the party of fucking children. Drives me nuts. Like little teenage boys. They seem to have this idea that unless somebody is tweeting explicitly, I want you to go and hurt people who are gay or trans, that nobody could ever construe that message from what they say. And it's stupid. We know irony posting is a thing. We know sarcasm's a thing. We know innuendo's a thing. We know that there are several different ways you can say things without saying things, right? I don't understand why conservative brain cells suddenly like deplete into a state of fetal alcohol syndrome every fucking time there's a violent event and people want to hold them responsible for their rhetoric. Oh, I do know. It's bad politics.
Yeah, freedom of speech is enormously important because words have power. In fact, words might be the most powerful thing we have as humans, as a species, unless I'm being held accountable for words that I say that might cause harm, in which case they're just words, dude. They're just words, all right? I didn't tell anybody to do anything.
I'm going to repeat something that I kind of said last episode, but it still holds true. The right use violent rhetoric to get violent results, and then they excuse the violent results as default to the victims, while denying that their violent rhetoric played any role in victimizing people in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
They weaponize mentally ill people to be foot soldiers, stealth foot soldiers.
Sleeper agents. That's the word I was looking for earlier.
Sleeper agents? I don't know if that's a good word. Because if somebody's a sleeper agent, they're kind of deliberately selected for a certain mission, you know?
All right, fine, I'll cut that out.
These are more like stealth guerrilla fighters. I don't know what you'd call them. Anyway, I'm just eating the last of this beef jerky. I'm so sorry.
No,
it's like the end of the bag, and I'm like, fuck it. I've had a bad day. I just want to eat beef jerky.
Well, hey, you can eat your beef jerky. I'm going to drink my beer. This podcast has to have. It's called waste of potential. One of us has to be drunk.
Yeah,
no one's ever thought of
heroin. You do the drinking. I do the heroin.
Yeah, no one's ever thought of having a drunk podcast before, and they always go well.
God, why couldn't we do alcoholics? I think we'd have ran that way better. That sounds bad. We should get Keo and Spectre on sometime.
Sure. All right. Yeah, well, let's start having guests in the next a little bit, so we can have someone else to balance out our angry screaming at the state of the fucking Republican Party and all the harm that they're deliberately trying to cause.
Well, you're the one angry screaming. I'm talking in a normal voice.
Oh, okay. Well, I can scream pretty good, so
comes with being gay.
Comes with being gay. We screech. All right. That's just I have an octave in my voice that you can't register because you've been infected by pussy. And
unfortunately, yeah, it gives you good singing abilities too. Fucking bullshit.
It is bullshit. Sorry, man.
Damn, you gay people get like everything like way classier and nicer too. Gay is like white. It's like everything the gays get is good.
You know how like there's an old what's his name?
Fuck, Bill even Barr? Their alcohol is better. Like
wait, what's gay alcohol?
Apple teenies and shit, like all that girly ass fruit drinks.
You know what? No. I'm drinking good old fashioned American Coors Light. Okay,
that's not because you're gay. That's because you're trailer trash.
You could be two things.
I'm just saying one has more to do with it than the other.
There's an old comedian that said, like, I forget which comedian it was, but like, you know why men have advantages in society? How, like, why we're privileged? It's because if we're ever on a Titanic, it's women and children first. All right, that's my tax. All right, if I have to die on a ship,
Titanic, right?
Yeah, so I guess that's the gay price. We sing better, we look better, we drink better,
but you die.
We have better sex, but we have to accept the odd fucking mass shooting hate crime against us. I guess that's what we have to accept.
Stop grooming.
Stop grooming. Stop existing tangentially next to children.
Oh, I just meant grooming your hair, but yeah, that too.
Oh. Okay. You know, I guess either one would work in that scenario. So that's cool. Speaking of grooming, why? So that we're grooming. The reason we already had a lot of like conservatives. So I'm gonna have a debate with Fabian Liberty, a fucking
Jesus
pussy.
Christ.
Yeah, fucking pussy coward idiots who've tried to pretend that grooming had no connotations.
Yeah,
sex
I wouldn't talk
whatsoever.
To that guy. He's a crazy person. They're not gonna get anything good out of him.
Well, it happened with Alex Stein, and that was fun. So I'm hoping for a repeat.
Enjoy your conversation with Nico House too. Then,
fuck
He doesn't have Alex Stein's charisma. At least Alex Stein could be funny.
That is
Fabian's
true.
just a brick wall.
I think I made a mistake then. We'll talk about it next time in the mistakes that I made. Anyway, like a lot of conservatives, not just him, like will try to say, grooming doesn't necessarily mean it has
we mean political
like
grooming. Herp, derp, derp,
yeah,
no, they don't. No, they don't.
Hold on. What's James Lindsay definition of grooming? By the way, I got a mechanical keyboard. That's why you can probably fucking hear it.
Wow, that must have been expensive. See, even the gay keyboards are nicer. I don't got that shit.
Mm-hmm. What? I can't find it. And I refuse to I refuse to put any sort of like weight on it. But yeah, so like you can group them into
audience. In case Justin doesn't edit this out, just know he should have rehearsed.
I should have rehearsed. Yeah. So
you're given an outline ahead of time. It's your fault, motherfucker.
That is true. Well, there's a lot of shit in this outline.
I'm sorry, I'm diligent. What you should be saying is thank you for doing the work for me, LSP.
I do. I thank you at the beginning of every podcast for doing all the work for us.
I'm basically a human encyclopedia here.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, like if you're listening to this, you're listening to it on YouTube. This outline and the outline to all our shows with all the notes, with all the links, is in the description. And so you can benefit like from all the work that LSP did. Like he's done 95% of this, which also means that if you ever make a mistake, it's your fault. You know, if there's anything wrong there, it's your fault too. So at least I can have that. But
well,
yeah, a lot of people.
You're the face of the show, buddy. That comes with being the gay charismatic person, right? The gay charismatic character.
Well, the face of this show is going to be that the mug shot of the guy who shot up Club Q.
I'm not making that the. I don't like people who delight in violence like that. These violence pornographers. I'm not going to make that the thumbnail.
Okay, fine.
This kid's got issues. This kid, like, fuck. It sounds bad to say this kid is a victim too, because that's about what I'm about to say. But like, this guy lived a fucked life. This guy genuinely lived a fucked life. You know, and that's not to apologize or excuse the outrageous crime he committed, because he's absolutely responsible. But I think you can't fight hate with hate. You know, it doesn't work.
I don't know, man. You know who stopped him? You know how he got stopped?
A fucking Marine.
Fucking Marine and a trans woman. It wasn't a drag queen. It was not a drag queen. It was a trans woman. Beat the shit out of him. I don't know, man. Violence was pretty cool then. I think.
Well, I didn't say violence couldn't solve it. I said hate can't beat hate. You can stop violence with violence. Fucking U.S. military does it all the time.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fair for the people who beat the fucking shit out of this loser. I think it's fair that they hated him, and I think it's fair to delight in seeing his bruised, puffy, just beat the fucking face.
I think attitudes like yours contribute to this overall problem. Oh man, we're gonna have like a fucking debate here.
Hell yeah.
This kid lived a fucked life, and you dismissed all of that, all of his experiences as just, well, he's just a fucking loser. Conservatives do this exact same shit with black people, right? Black people who are victims of circumstance, black people who grew up in fucked households, single mothers, drug problems, no father around, fucked schools, gang problems, goes out and does a shooting. And it's like, fuck this guy, he's trash. You're exactly that, but on the left.
Yeah, which means I'm correct.
I was expecting you to put up even a little bit of a fight there.
No, so there's no hypocrisy. Like, I am for good things and against bad things, and so there's no hypocrisy.
Good things is that you take people like Anderson Lee Aldrich, who is a broken young man, and you fix them. You take somebody who comes from a household as broken as his, who's been as bullied as he was, and you fix it. That's how you deal with this. You can't mock. I think, and I'm guilty of this too. I think some people they kind of let their hate just dehumanize their problems away, and I'm guilty of this too. I will like just dehumanize, mock, or insult people rather than just deal with them. Anderson Lee Aldrich is the byproduct of that. He's the byproduct of a system that encourages this response to people's problems. He has real problems. He's got real mental health issues. He's got real anger problems, and he's got a bad history. And nobody was there to fix it. Nobody was there to help him. So no shit, he went out and got a gun and shot a bunch of people. He's a product of circumstances that created him.
It is the ultimate test of like, how much do you actually believe in restorative versus retributive justice?
Well, unlike you fuckers, I actually do. You're like cheerleading him getting the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah, if I was like in a good state of mind, take all the emotion out of it, yeah, I would be more for like, all right, how do we make sure he never fucking does this again? How do we make sure he gets the help he needs?
Do you sincerely?
However,
here's a question from the in-group could you ever be in that state of mind? Because if I were gay, I'd probably feel the same way you were. I'd probably be fucking glad that this fucker got his face kicked in. Because I don't know if I could divorce that part of my identity, that significant part of my identity, from the crime that he just committed. And I don't know that I could look at it rationally outside of my identity. He targeted gay people and trans people for hate-based reasons. He wanted to kill them. There are people in this world who want gay people and trans people to die. And there's a lot more of them than we want to admit.
Here's the beauty of it. I can have both sides of it. All right. I can justify my emotional response by taking pleasure in the fact that he got his fucking ass kicked and had his bruised, bloodied face be his mugshot. I can take pleasure in that, and like a lot of pleasure. But also, depending on the circumstances, I can also take the high road and say, well, actually, as an enlightened liberal and leftist who believes in restorative justice, I believe that he has been failed in his upbringing for his entire life, and it is, of course, no justification for his actions, but we cannot blame it purely on this evil. We cannot say this individual is evil, because that is just not how society functions. I can have it both ways, dude.
Was that supposed to be me?
No, it's me.
What?
Both of those people
I don't understand.
were me.
Did you get a PhD in fucking dorky glasses all of a sudden, Eugene?
I
Like,
did.
what the fuck? Like, why did you become a stuck-up white guy that eats his pizza with a fork and knife?
Oh, that's them's fighting words. That does justify violence. Don't you ever fucking say that I eat pizza with a fork and knife, all right? I don't even cut the pizza. I roll it like a fucking joint.
You gotta
and shove it down my throat.
I taco that shit. I fold it together to taco.
No, I take the entire pizza, I roll it like a joint, and I shove it down my throat without even chewing.
Is there any kind of pizza you can eat with a fork and knife? Like, that would be allowable? Like, it's got to be like a really messy pizza, right?
No.
Nope.
No, I think if you're eating pizza, you've bought into. You got to use hands for it.
Remember that? This will always haunt me. This is the dumbest thing to haunt me. When you and I met Destiny for the first time, and we were eating at the table together, and I ordered a fucking pizza, and I had sauce on my face and didn't know it. Fuck me! God damn it! It's like when you see a cute girl and your fly is open, you know.
I wouldn't know anything about that. My flies always close around girls. I actually have trained my fly to close itself around girls just to avoid temptation.
You had to train yourself for that? I thought you were gay. Shouldn't come natural.
No. It has taken a lot of effort to like convince myself that I'm gay. You know.
Did somebody help you? Were you groomed?
You know, and it started with my dad was in the coal mine, and he was away a lot. That's why.
And then they found gay on the moon.
And then they found gay on the moon, and now I'm holding on to that, man. That's the life that I've chosen for myself, despite all evidence to the contrary.
That's a weird question. Do gay people like celebrate accidental public boners, or do they feel like the same way us straights do? Like, fuck, god damn it, shit.
I think it depends on your boner. All right, if you got a fucking 10-inch hog, I think you can celebrate your public boners. At that point, it's not.
Do gay people, are they more likely to have the 10-inch hogs?
I want to say yes.
God damn.
Because no one's going to look it up. But yeah, gay people have bigger dicks. You're not going to look it up.
Justin, gay people will look it up.
It's nice we had a little moment of levity.
On that note, on the groomer thing, there is something I wanted to bring up, and I can bring this up to you because I think you're like well-researched on this. I remember reading statistics, details, and stuff like that there is a significant overlap. Significant, right? It's greater than the general population between people who've been molested or sexually abused as children and people who are gay as adults. Mm-hmm. What is the reason behind that?
The most likely explanation is that because we still associate like any sort of deviation from cis heteronormativity, like if a boy acts a little bit feminine, or a girl acts a little bit masculine or something to that effect, that they're more sexual. And therefore, a lot of pedophiles will see them as more likely targets. Because, a lot of pedophiles kind of want the kid to also sort of want it. And so they'll misconstrue this person's not acting in a cis heteronormative way as, well, they're going to be more into it and less likely to tell people. And that's on top of the fact, and that's on top of the notion that, like, well, this kid's probably already going to be a little bit ostracized. And the kid probably is a little bit more ostracized. They're not going to have as many people to talk to. So it's more likely to get away with it.
So I'm asking as a straight guy who grew up Catholic and tragically never got molested, do you think that maybe there is a possibility, that some degree of social influence can make somebody gay or trans through sexual abuse. That there might be, that this overlap could be explained by some early trauma suffered in childhood.
I'm not going to say it couldn't happen because there are like a billion different ways that trauma from sexual abuse can manifest itself. I don't think that it can ever rise to you find things attractive that you find like an entire like gender attractive that you otherwise would not have at all. I don't think.
No, there might be like an underlying element of, I mean, there might even be like, I don't want to say bisexuality because I know like gayness is on a spectrum. But I mean, like, fuck, man. Like, even straight guys have homosexual thoughts now and again, right? Like, is it conceivable that maybe this activates some part of your brain that would have otherwise been switched off for your whole life just because the event was so traumatic that it necessarily had to flip that switch, you know?
I'm not going to say it never happens in anyone, but it's not a explanatory, like, it's not an explanation. I think you always go, what is it, Occam's razor? Go with the simplest explanation. The most likely explanation is the true one most of the time. The
simplest one would be there's a multitude of factors, wouldn't it? That would be the simplest way to explain.
In terms of like what is the most likely in the most, like the vast majority of cases, I do think that there is some like truth to the stereotype that like gay kids are going to act a lot more gender nonconforming than their peers, than their like otherwise straight peers, and that I think that makes them a target more so than the other way around.
Okay.
Because I mean, as evidenced by the fact that a lot of people think that like if you talk about gay people, that's inherently sexual to children. Like this is the question I asked to Alex Stein, and he beautifully walked into it because he's a very intelligent person who knows that dinosaurs aren't real. Yeah, like why is John and his wife went on vacation? Why is that not sexual? Versus what John and his husband went on vacation? Why is that sexual?
Yeah, and his answer was because one's normal, right?
No, he said no because it's gay. He said it like that. It was beautiful. Like they just see like that one's the sexual one because it's gay. It's circular. Like things are gay is sexual and straight isn't because one's straight and one's gay. That's it. So a lot of that applies to like children as well.
Yeah, what do you think explains the kind of like I like to think that a lot of conservatives just have like severe internalized homophobia purely because they're gay too, and like. I shouldn't laugh at it, but because you were brought up in a fucking church, like that can be fucked, right? That can fuck with your mind a bit. But there's got to be an element of truth to it, right? It's not zero conservatives that are like hateful of gay people because they're fucking gay themselves. I'm pretty sure there's a fair number. Not saying it applies to Alex Stein, but yeah. As far as guys, I wouldn't be surprised if I found out Alex Stein is one of them. The bravado about pimping the blimp gives it away.
Yeah, if you're looking for like, all right, what is like the typical homophobe? Are they more likely to be gay? Probably not. If you're looking at the most virulent homophobes, I think that is going to skew the numbers a little bit. Like the most virulent, the people who like talk, that's all they talk about, and it's the only thing that matters. And like they really
they think about gays a lot.
Yeah,
I think about gays a lot to mask the homosexual.
I actually do think that's a greater proportion of them. Not all, probably not half, probably not even a quarter, but a greater percentage that is in the general population of them absolutely have homosexual desires. Like they hate in other people what they hate in themselves.
How odd question. How many homosexual thoughts do you have to have before you're gay?
I think as many as you want. You got to identify as it.
Oh, really?
So
if you have like one and you're like, fuck, I guess I'm gay now. Like that would be like,
then you're
gay. Like convinced.
Yeah, really? If you have one and you like,
isn't that like the most common thing? Don't like, this applies to both men and women. Both men and women at some point sexually think about the same sex.
Yeah. That's why you have to like, you got to identify with it. You got to say like, okay, yeah, I'm gay. I think that's the moment where you're gay. When you identify as it.
Oh, so you got to own it. Nobody can just lie to themselves.
They can lie to themselves, but I don't think but if they lie to themselves in there and say that they're not gay, well, then they're not gay. They can have a lot of homosexual attraction. They can have exclusively homosexual attraction, but if they don't take up the label and say, nope, I identify as gay, then they're not. This seems
redundant. Like you're only gay if you identify as gay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. If I get like a fucking boner looking at Pierce Brosnan from the 90s and his hairy abs, right? And I'm like, fucking gay people, as I'm like, beat it off. I don't think I can just get away with saying, well, I'm not gay, because I'm not identifying with it.
Man, you're doing the thing that all straight people do. You're reducing us to our sexualities. There's more to being gay than just what makes your dick go hard. Right?
Okay, to be fair to the conservatives, the sexuality is a big part of it, though, right?
Yeah, can you imagine Pierce Brosnan holding you and telling you everything's going to be okay. At a scenic sunset in Vienna, as you both feed each other scones.
None of
and he
James
whispers
Bond.
sweet
That
nothings
guy's a
into your ear.
misogynist. Gay James Bond. Oh my God, do it. Gay James Bond. We need it. That will just fucking piss so many people off. It'll be worth it.
I mean, Pierce Brosnan almost did it in that last movie. Hi, this is Editing Justin. I say Pierce Brosnan. I meant Daniel Craig. So, yeah.
Did he? I didn't watch the last one. Everything after GoldenEye was so dog shit. I didn't watch.
There was a gay villain in one of the like Pierce Brosnan Bond movies. I think it was one. It was
fuck. Of course, the gay guy would know this.
Yeah, it was one of the last ones, or it might have been the last one. Where like there's a gay villain, and he's like flirting with Bond. He's like, "Is this your first time?" Like, and Bond's like, "What makes you think it's my first time?" And it's like double entendre. It's like it's torture, but it's also like gay sex.
Oh,
so you know,
okay.
we had a little inkling of a James Bond.
A James Bond. Anyway, Groomer Panic. Let's talk about the Groomer Panic.
Was it like 20 minutes ago?
I forgot. Were we supposed to have a podcast or something? I forgot.
I forgot we were recording. Yeah, so I did not look up the James Lindsay definition, but basically, like they're pretending that groomer is just like you can groom someone into a political ideology, and they're pretending that that's what it meant. We already had a word for that, and they already we're seeing. The CRT panic and the queer theory / gay panic, those are the same playbooks, right? We could agree on that, basically. All right, so they already had a word for what
weaponized ignorance and outrage.
Well, the word that they would use in CRT is indoctrination. They already had that word. And
it doesn't work with gay people, though.
Right. You could use it if that's all you meant, is like you're trying to indoctrinate kids into queer ideology, which means...
I actually don't know what they mean. Actually fucking means.
What is trans ideology? Trans people exist?
You can change your gender. God, what a fucking moron. Blair White tweeted that just earlier today. Like, the left are trying to promote this idea that you can change your gender. Bitch, you changed your fucking gender!
What does trans mean? What does trans mean? You are a transgender woman, Blair. What does the trans mean?
Yeah, if they use gender and sex interchangeably, I don't know. But, like, gender and sex are different things, but if they want to use them interchangeably like they mean the same thing, a trans person shouldn't be saying that because they literally did that. They are literally the person who changed their fucking gender.
All right. Oh, we had to finish this thought before we go off on another tangent. The reason they're using groomer is because of the sexual connotation. That's why they're using it. That's why they're using that instead of indoctrinate. It's because if a gay person's around kids and they're talking about being gay, they're grooming them.
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
Grooming, like it's not just, and they're not. It would be bad enough if they were accusing gay and trans people of like tricking kids into being gay and trans. That would be bad enough. But the reason they're using grooming is because they want to add it in that we're trying to trick you into being gay and trans in order to have sex with you, in order to like sexually exploit you. That's the reason they're using grooming. That's what grooming actually means in this context.
You ever notice that you can only be indoctrinated or groomed away from what they would consider the norm? Like the norm for them must be heterosexual or the norm for them must be heterosexual or conservative. And if you have any politics or identity that deviates from this must be a byproduct of some sort of indoctrination or grooming to get you there. It can never just be that these are the things that make the most sense to you because you're fucking gay or you're fucking liberal or something like that. It must be that you were indoctrinated that way.
I want to read a paragraph from a really, really, really good article by Julia Serrano that I haven't put in the outline yet, but I will after this. All right, so this is... While the hypothesis that trans identities can spread via social contagion is dubious, the fact that this idea resonates with many people is not at all surprising given the stigma contamination mindset. Once again, stigmatized outsiders, in this case other people's trans-infected children, are imagined to potentially contaminate and corrupt otherwise pure in-group children. To put it differently, the imagined contagion at work here is anti-trans stigma, not some brand new form of contagious gender dysphoria.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
we should just read articles from other people for the podcast.
That's what every other podcast does. They just...
You mean people aren't really as articulate?
His entire show is reading other people's articles. Off himself.
He says shit like Kanye's going to be president. I got a feeling, guys. God, it's going to be scary when he actually does become president, though.
Yeah, I want to know, like, if I don't know, assuming you don't believe like gays come from the moon or whatever, like where did the first gay and trans people come from? Were they indoctrinated into it? Is that where they came from? Like, So suppression of gay and trans identities, that's natural because I can never get a good answer to this.
If
Like,
it's not
why
natural,
is
must
it
it be supernatural? Must it be cybernetic?
cybernetic? Yeah, but is if a kid is if a little boy is like super girly, all right, what is the natural thing? What constitutes a stepping in? What constitutes an active intervention for that kid if they're super girly?
What do you mean?
A lot of people say that without intervention, most kids will grow out of gender dysphoria, for example. So they'll say without active intervention. What does that look like? What is active intervention?
Well, from parents who are transphobic or homophobic, that would look like negative reinforcement, right? You're trying to reinforce this idea that they're not gay or that they're not trans by making them dress more masculine or act more heterosexual or anything like that.
Yeah, trying to change what the kid is doing, that's not seen as active as long as it's done in the direction of cis heteronormative. That's not active because that's the natural way of doing
right?
things.
That's
the default. And so, yeah, but like not doing anything, letting a kid, like, okay, you have a little person who is assigned male at birth saying like, actually, I'm a girl. Okay, not even, and this is like brought up in literature. They say I am a girl rather than I feel like a girl. They're way more likely to persist with like a trans identity as like a, if they say I am a girl, they're way likely to grow up to be a trans woman. So what is the active intervention there that we're trying to avoid if you're like a transphobe? Like the active intervention would be to stop them from doing that, right? If you just let them do what they want and don't intervene, don't step in actively, well then they're going to persist with the identity. That's not what they mean by active. They mean like active means if they end up gay or trans, that was the active intervention. That was it.
Yeah, must be a byproduct of grooming.
Must be a byproduct of grooming. Like if you see 199 Disney movies with the prince and the princess marry each other, all that is fine. But the one where you see the gay couple, that's grooming.
Buzz Lightyear's neighbor kissed a chick. No,
Buzz Lightyear's neighbor kissed two women in the Buzz Lightyear movie kissed for a quarter of a second, and they're side characters, never even brought up. That's all it took. It's too late, mother. I've seen everything.
Okay, let's talk about the violent results of the groomer panic. I think we should talk about that.
We're going to do that. However, I've been drinking and I have to pee again.
Jesus fuck. Fucking
I know.
Gay people. Are gay people's bladders like the size of peanuts? I don't understand.
I almost made a joke, but I think people would take it seriously. Like, dude, my insides have been blasted by dick so much that like nothing works down there anymore.
I can tell.
Yeah, I was gonna make that joke, but that's what a lot of people believe. Anyway,
too much poop on your dick.
Well, hey, there's no poop on my dick. All right, it's the other way around. Right, I get my poop on someone else's dick.
Okay.
Are we gonna cut this?
Please cut this. Please cut this.
Okay. All right. So if you're hearing this, remember we cut this, so you're not actually hearing this. All right. I'll be back in a sec.
No good comes from this. Anybody who's listening, no good comes from this. This fucking guy is a disaster. Okay. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have asked somebody who was not gay for this. Right. I understand homophobia now. Okay, just look at the way these conversations steer. Can't stand it. Has to take a piss every fucking second. And then we're talking about poops on dicks.
All right, seamless transition. You'll never even know there was a cut there, right?
Please cut that. Anyway, there's been a problem. So I'll read off from the Forward article detailing this. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over my words here. A group of Proud Boys stormed a library during a drag queen story hour. One man wore a shirt that said, "To kill your local pedophile," with an image of an assault rifle below it. At an Idaho Pride event, a riot was avoided by the mass arrest of the white nationalist group Patriot Front. 31 arrests for conspiracy to commit a riot. A school was forced to shut down after days of bomb threats, hateful messages, and a death threat against one staff member. What do these three events have in common? All of these events were the focus of a Libs of TikTok tweet. So they are terrorists, to be blunt. Libs of TikTok is absolutely a stochastic terrorist.
Well, what they will say is they're just posting videos that queer people put up themselves. They're just posting announcements that schools put up themselves. All right,
they're not.
It can't.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's honest. That's obvious to anybody who's the least bit honest about it. They're not. So they've been criticized time and time again for misrepresenting what people say. I brought up this one example with Brian. I would have to go hunt down again, but what the professor on the video was saying was that we have to learn how to we have to learn to understand why pedophiles commit what they do. But Libs of TikTok frames this like we have to understand and sympathize with pedophiles. Like she frames it totally differently. There was even a story. Fuck, I gotta go look for that story too. There was even a story of this woman who was doing like a live TikTok with her family where she was just doing a Q&A, and one of them asked like the child something to the effect of like, how do you feel about your mom being like NB or gay, or I don't remember what the mom was, but like the kid ends up saying because this kid's like 6, ends up saying something to the effect of, well, my mom wouldn't let me be straight. My mom would make me be gay or something like that. Now, when you watch the full thing, it's very clear this kid's just stumbling over his words. It's very clear this kid does not know what he's talking about. He's an awkward kid, and he's trying to answer something. The mom is not making him be gay or anything like that. Libs of TikTok doesn't tweet that. What Libs of TikTok tweets is the one flub from a child who can barely put a sentence together coherently to insinuate that the mom is training this kid to be gay. And this mom dealt with death threats, dealt with harassment, just scores and scores of harassment as a result of this very incident. Libs of TikTok is not honest. They are outraged pornographers who are trying to hurt people.
If Libs of TikTok started just posting, this business put up a rainbow flag in front of their storefront, I truly think that would still, to a much lesser degree, but a sizable portion of our audience would see that for what it is. Now that they've cultivated this audience, all right, if you put a rainbow flag in front of your business during Pride Month, you're a grooming organization, and therefore you're going to be targeted.
Yeah, they don't need to do any other heavy lifting. At this point, they've cultivated the audience they need to inflict violence on people without ever really even saying anything else. Just they're gay, they're trans. That's all they need. And I really, for the love of, it just blows my mind that Libs of TikTok has not been suspended. It blows my mind. Like, Libs of TikTok is why social media companies should have a terms of service that polices hate speech. There's this stupid, dumbass meme that like hate speech is free speech and it has some redeeming value. It must be protected. I don't know what redeeming value hate speech actually has. Hate speech serves one purpose. It is to victimize, dehumanize, and degrade a group of people such that violence will be inflicted upon them.
The free speech argument there is like, well, who gets to decide what hate speech is? And that's an overstep.
I do.
You do. I can almost be sympathetic to that, but why would that apply to fucking social media? Why would that apply to Twitter, Facebook? Why would that apply there?
It wouldn't. It shouldn't. You don't have a right to a social media. I don't know what. Fuck. I mean, you can buy it yourself, I guess, but like,
that's not even the argument. Like, I had a second panel that was a lot less interesting, but like, they're saying that not only is it wrong to like ban people from, they weren't even talking about banning people from social media. You can get on, if you're homophobic, transphobic, racist, whatever, like you can say whatever the fuck you want on Gab as long as it's not porn. You can say whatever the fuck you want on Parler. You can say whatever the fuck you want on Truth Social in terms of like being racist or homophobic or transphobic. No. You're still silenced if you're not on the biggest one. That's what free speech is. Free speech has turned into, not only should I not be arrested for saying stuff, I actually should have the biggest audience possible. And if you take any measure to like reduce that audience, then that's a violation of the First Amendment. Yeah, I don't know how they can say that with a straight face.
Twitter is the new public square.
Because
now it's private. Elon bought it.
You know how in the public square of old, you could just go in there and start screeching whatever you want and no one would do anything?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know like what these people think the public square was like. They're not picturing the public square. They're picturing a fucking truck stop bathroom is what they're thinking of, where you just write whatever like graffiti you want on the stalls and get away with it. That's what they're picturing.
I know this would be terrible to talk about Elon Musk and Twitter for like a 4th episode in a row, but everybody on that panel you were on sidestepped this issue, and it fucking bothers me every time they do. Why would a company risk losing advertiser dollars just to allow you to be a shitter to gay people. Like, why the fuck would that be in their interest?
Free speech?
Sorry, not in your interest, right? If free speech means losing advertiser dollars because you fuckers can't behave yourself, that's not free speech, right? Like, you're ruining it for everybody. You just repeat it like a pool toy. Fucking conservatives.
It's like, I actually, all right, if anyone thinks that I'm being facetious when I just say free speech over and over and over again, that was their fucking argument. Free speech. That's it. That was it.
That is seriously the only argument. Yeah, like advertisers, like companies should risk advertiser revenue. By the way, you know what kills me about this? They're providing you a fucking service for free. Get over it. You don't have to pay for this. YouTube, Twitter, any of these media. You don't have to pay a dime for this. You get this service for free. Other people are working for you to provide you this service. All you have to do is not be a shitter that drives advertisers away. That's not fucking hard for a basic human being. Well, actually, it's pretty hard for me.
I brought this exact point up, and I didn't get a satisfying answer to it. Like, why is it bad Why is it bad for YouTube to ban somebody? You didn't make YouTube. Right? The reason you got popular on YouTube to begin with is because YouTube was a thing. People put in the effort to like make this site. People put in the ecosystem for you to be able to upload videos. Why do you think that you're owed? You didn't put shit into the system. They owe you jack shit. Why do you think that you're?
This is a manifestation of white aggrieved entitlement. And it is fucking racial. I'll say it. It is racial. It's a fucking white people thing to think this. That they're owed this service free of charge to do with as they want. And that's frankly not true. That there was certain ingenuity that went into creating YouTube. Somebody had to think of this idea. Some entrepreneur who was enterprising had to get the startup capital to make it, and they sustain it using advertiser dollars. It is their product. You don't have a right to their product or their services. They're doing this for you, right? And if you can't behave yourself, I don't think banning you is a bad idea. And I apply this to me too, because the fucking times I did get banned from Twitter, I was a shitter. I am a shitter on Twitter. I am a shitter to people, which, by the way, Twitter's toxic. Just uninstall Twitter. But yeah, like, people want 4chan to be mainstream is the problem we're having. And fucking nobody wants to use 4chan. Nobody wants to advertise on 4chan.
Yeah, we already have avenues where you can say whatever you want with no repercussions. You're already not like unless it's like an actual like threat to violence. You already have free speech. The government's not going to come knocking on your door, at least in the United States, if you say the most hateful shit imaginable on social media, as long as it's not directly calling for violence. You already have that. That's not what people are. That's not what the argument is. It's like, no, I should be able to do it on the biggest one. Everybody else should be forced to hear what I have to say, and it's you're attacking my freedom of speech if I'm not allowed to be on a specific platform that I have deemed the biggest. Gay people find another baker, but for me, no, I don't want to find it. I want to go to this baker. This is the baker I want to go to, and I specifically want to go to this baker because this is going to be the baker that I upset the most by being there. Like the reason that like they want to be on Twitter instead of 4chan, the reason 4chan isn't enough because like who's on 4chan?
Twitter has reach, yeah, and it's nothing but a bunch
it's
of,
not
like,
even reach. It's like
losers.
There's no on the like poll on 4chan and stuff like that. It's all just Nazi assholes. So they don't. It's like this echo chamber. They don't want to. They want to be able to call a trans person the T-slur to their face. That's what free speech is. Like I want to be able to like go to somebody and upset them directly. And all the liberals are on Twitter, and that's what I want to do. And so if there was no moderation on Twitter, no TOS,
Twitter would like die already. They don't need Twitter for that. The Westboro Baptist Church made it perfectly clear that you can be as much of a hateful asshole as you want in the actual public square. That's what the public square is there for. And your rights to be a hateful asshole will be protected, and that's a good thing. It sounds like super bad, and maybe I'm only saying this because I'm straight. It's a good thing to live in America where the Westboro Baptist Church can be a thing. I like living in a country with that kind of freedom. As destructive as it is, I like living in a country with that kind of freedom. I just don't expect adults, Twitter, Facebook, media platforms to adopt this same attitude when there's no reason to. Obviously, they shouldn't adopt this attitude. Obviously, it would be stupid to platform the Westboro Baptist Church. It's stupid to platform Alex Jones. Holy shit. Who is that guy? Jackson Hinkle. What a fucking moron. I'm sorry. Never mind. Is there a legal, is it legal defamation? Jackson, that's not a thing, you fucking idiot. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, there's some context there that
I feel like I said, these guys are a product of fetal alcohol syndrome. I think there's like 20 brain cells between all of them up there. It was really sad. Why couldn't I be on the panel? Mouthy Infidel didn't do shit. Like, fucking sub me in. Tell.
Sorry, Mouthy, if you're listening, man, you didn't do shit on either of your panels.
Tell Modern Day Debates, sub me in. I've got personality. I can bring fire.
All right. There's one more thing I wanted to talk about.
Okay, let's talk about it.
All right, so one of the previous points in this, was, we talking about Tim Pool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the shit that he was saying.
He's predicted that Kanye is going to be president.
That was also true. We also talked about libs of TikTok, and like one of the big defenses of libs of TikTok is that like they're just posting things that other people have posted. All right, that's it. All right, we're not inspiring hate. They posted these things.
It's true. I also suffer from brain damage.
Yeah, and that brings us to one James Lindsay.
Oh, the word salad generator. All right.
Friend of the show, popularizer of the catchphrase "Okay, Groomer."
He called me rude.
He did call you rude. He said you were so fucking rude because he was rambling and you tried to get him to fucking get to the
I don't know what he was
point.
even saying. That's the worst part. Like,
because he wasn't saying anything.
I don't think he has a sentence. I think he just vomits out words and he try to put them together like a puzzle. Like,
all right.
There's nothing coherent in what he says.
There's context that most of the audience is going to know, but like I think it was funny, like during our debate with James Lindsay, he was talking to you and calling you rude, and then Carrie turned to me and told me to stop. I just thought that was
that's
really,
like when
really
Alex Stein harasses Destiny, but they get mad at you for flipping off Ariel Scasella. Dude, conservative privilege is real. You guys can be absolute shitters and assholes, and everybody just applauds you like you're fucking seals. But the second a leftist acts like a dick, goddamn, does everybody cry about
the decorum. Oh, how rude. Very classy.
Civility politics is dead. This is just like Mao and Hitler.
Well, that brings us to the point, conservatives are pussies, and one of them is James Lindsay. James Lindsay, the originator of the "Okay Groomer" catchphrase, and who has popularized it, and he is very concerned about actual grooming, which is why he made "Okay Groomer" a t-shirt that you can buy at his store. That's how you know he's taking it seriously, when he's very concerned about child sexual exploitation, which is why he is monetizing the catchphrase he made against it, which doesn't go to any sort of charity.
Turned it into an easily photoshoppable shirt.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's very proud of the damage he's done to the quote leftist neo-communist cause by making "Okay Groomer" famous. That's a direct quote from one of his tweets. But what he doesn't like is when any sort of any sort of lens is put on him. So at that conference that we were referencing, where we debated James Lindsay, and he cried anytime that he didn't get to speak for more than 5 minutes straight, he took a picture with one Nikki Klein. And it wasn't just this incidental. It wasn't just this, they were in the same room, just kind of together.
No, they're homies. And yeah. Can we bring up Carrie's defense, too?
Fuck it. We'll bring that up. Holy shit. Yeah, we will bring it up. No, it wasn't some incidental photo. They posed for each other with their legs spread. And Nikki Klein's...
They were man-spreading.
They were man-spreading, because that's a funny thing. Haha, man-spreading.
Look at my balls.
It means you're an alpha male if you can adduct your hips 45 degrees. That makes you an alpha male. Although, I typically associate it with hip flexibility for gay butt sex, but whatever, because that's what I use it for. Well, he's very bothered that photo
true
of him.
Spreading. He uses it just to be an asshole.
Spreading.
You use it to fuck.
I do. All right. That when I man spread, it's because I'm preparing. I'm stretching. All right. I'm preparing. Well, he's very bothered that photo of him and Nikki Klein floods his replies anytime he mentions anything about grooming. Do you know who Nikki Klein is?
No, you'll have to catch me up on this.
Well, Nikki Klein, actress who's most famous for being on Battlestar Galactica, I think. So, actress in the technical sense. She was a member of a cult called, do you know, NXIVM? Is there an actual way I'm supposed to pronounce that, or is it an acronym?
Yeah, it's the same way you pronounce Elon's child's name.
Okay. The fucking printer password version of a name. All right.
My fucking password was that. My shit wouldn't have got stolen. Fuck me.
True. So she was a member of the NXIVM, a notorious multi-level marketing company turned sex cult. And by the way, she still supports that cult and its founder, Keith Raniere, who was convicted on charges that included human trafficking, sex offenses, and sexual exploitation of a child. She was a member of that cult. She was one of the right-hand members. She had sex with this dude a lot, despite the fact that she apparently had a wife. a wife who also had sex with this leader of the sex cult. Anyway, he's very upset.
Like some grooming going on here.
It seems like a little bit of grooming, especially that whole like sexual exploitation of a child part. Well, she was part of that cult, and he's taking proud pictures with her. And man, I don't know if this was some sort of like, she titled the post, "I taught him everything he knows." And when you have like the right-hand member of a sex cult who groomed children titling a post, "I taught him everything he knows," it kind of looks bad if your whole deal is calling other people groomers, doesn't it? Kind of makes it, it kind of looks bad when you're proudly posing with a groomer.
I mean, I couldn't give a shit about that. The funny part is that he's crying to Elon Musk to stop it.
Oh yeah, James, free speech advocate, wants it to stop. He's very
is it legal
not
defamation
bothered.
We're doing, or is this illegal defamation? What kind of defamation does this fall under?
I don't know. Well, let's try to do both to cover our bases. All right, let's do all kinds of defamation.
If it was illegal, they'd defend it.
So yeah, he is very, very not bothered. All right. He says, like, if you have time when you see that spammed photo in my replies, report it for spamming. It's not hard to ignore, but it needs getting shut down. It's not a big deal, guys. I'm not bothered by it, but shut it down. All right. Get Big Daddy Elon to come shut this shit down, all right? Because it bothers me a lot. It actually bothers me a lot. I hate this, but it bothers me so much. Fuck, stop it. It's hurting my feelings. He's just a huge fucking pussy, dude. He cannot take 1/100th of what he dishes out. He is like he has abused this notion of okay groomer. He calls it, like, if there's a pride flag on a college campus, I actually think this is true.
That's evidence of pedophilia.
He blocked us both, but I'm pretty sure there was a pride like staircase on a college campus, and his catchphrase response, it was okay groomer. Like, it doesn't mean anything. It's his catchphrase. He's doing it for clout. But all that stuff is fine. But when someone posts the picture of him with an actual like member of a sex cult, that's spam.
Needs
that's
Elon's help.
That's not only spam. All right, that's a leftist smear.
Even when promoted by somebody on the right.
Yeah, if you see that picture that he retweeted, that he posed for, that he interacted with, that he put on his own timeline, if you repost that with context, that's a leftist propaganda campaign, and you're falling for their smears. I think that's just beautiful. What's it called? Like, not verisimilitude. Serendipity, I think is the right word. Probably. Y'all don't know what that word means. You're not going to check. It's beautiful, like, completeness of the world that he's defending libs of TikTok for posting videos that queer teachers and stuff post, and that's all they're doing. But when someone just posts the picture that he posted, well, now all of a sudden it's a smear campaign. Now all of a sudden, context matters.
Let's level. It is a smear campaign, right? Nobody's posting this picture to make James Lindsay look good. It is a smear campaign.
It is a smear campaign. 100%. Yeah, 100% is a smear campaign.
He deserves it. He's an asshole. But what kills me is can we talk about our good friend Carrie now?
It is absolutely a smear campaign. It's a great smear campaign. But we fucking admit it's a smear campaign to make him look bad because he's doing the okay groomer shit. He's contributing to stochastic terrorism and like calling gay people pedophiles. He's contributing to that. We're trying to smear him. We're admitting that we're trying to smear him because it makes him look bad. And we love that it bothers him. And I know it bothers him because I almost fucking ratioed him by like saying, hey, it's really funny that you let us know that this bothers you. We're admitting that's what we're doing. But he pretends that's not the case. But he does have a defender, doesn't he?
Yes. Good friend of the show, Carrie Smith, who I will admit is a very pleasant person, a very sweet person. She's very enjoyable to be around.
In person.
She's even fun to talk to. I'm not gonna lie. I fear her. I think she's very savvy. Yeah, I think she's very good at framing things or reframing things or misframing things in dishonest ways, and she's very sneaky about it. So I remember, like, during our debate or something like that, like, she asks a question, something to the effect of, like, do you think cultural relativism is, like, are our cultures relative to each other? And I say, yeah, of course. That, like, some cultures think their own culture is good, other cultures think their other, like, that's obvious. It's true.
It's transparently obvious.
And she turned that into, so, like, there's nothing wrong with a culture that throws gay people off roofs. Like, bitch, that ain't what I fucking said. right? Like she turned that into like, but she's so fucking daft and sneaky with that shit.
Let's get her on the show. Let's get her and Brian on the show. Let's do it.
Do you think they'd come on?
Well, if they're interested in open dialogue.
It's a fucking rude, man.
Hey, we went to fucking 4 of their goddamn conferences.
I jumped in the Shark Tank enough, and I've already got enough enemies on the left. I don't give a shit. Bring whoever on.
We went to
when
4
it comes
of
to Carrie.
Yeah, no, we went to 4. We both spoke at 3 of their conferences, and we both went to 4 of them. They owe us an appearance on our podcast to answer for their crimes.
True. I would love to talk to Brian. I always have fun talking to Brian. It's always really stressful because I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall. I don't think he's honest, but
listen to this,
I
Brian.
don't
I don't think you're honest.
Yeah, I don't at all. But I really like talking to him because it feels like I get to test drive like arguments against him. Because like when I feel like when I force him to be dishonest about something, like when I've caught him, it always makes me feel like this argument's a working argument, and I should pursue this argument, this line of argumentation in the future. It makes me feel like more empowered as a debater or as a orator or whatever. Yeah, anyway, really Carrie Smith.
Yes. Do you want me to read in my epic narrator voice her thread defending James Lindsay?
Does it have to be an epic voice? Can't it just be a normal voice?
Well, let me have this, all right? I have so few things in my life.
True.
Let me have this. All right. Okay.
You are an alcoholic.
Exactly. Like, all right. Apparently, there's a mob out for conceptual James Lindsay, for being at a myth-informed conference with many panelists, including Nikki Klein, and taking photos with her. Quel horreur. Do you know what that means? Quel horreur? This phrase she used?
Is it French? I'm too stupid. She's smarter than I am.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. He's being called groomer and more, which is now a bad thing. It's bad to call people groomers who aren't groomers. That's bad. This is the kind of thing.
Is it inviting violence on them or something? What's wrong with it? Tell me. Explain it.
It's smearing them. It's bad. This is the kind of thing I almost feel is unworthy of response.
And then she's going to respond.
Yeah. But in case there's... Yeah, she's going to respond for like 5 more tweets. So it did warrant a response. But in case there's any doubts where I stand, I think NXIVM is a cult. I think Keith Rainier is a narcissist, con man, and that he exploited underage girls. I've interviewed Nikki about this. She knows what I think, and yet, she is my friend. Would you stay friends with someone who thinks you were in a cult? Most wouldn't. Most would find it condescending, but she has. I think she's open-minded and kind, and I don't think she's finished with her journey, as none of us are. I will not apologize for being friends with someone. All right, now here's the fucking 4-hit combo right here. Carrie, again, I'm still Carrie right now. Mm-hmm. I was in a cult, the cult of social justice. It's woke, it's Marxist, it's racist, sexist, and authoritarian.
And it grooms children.
Do you know people who have left that particular cult? I know many. It's a long process. It doesn't happen overnight. Now, I want to pause real quick here. Fuck, social justice, that's a cult. Sure. Imagine trying to help people out of the cult of social justice by shunning them completely. That has never worked. There are some viewers of my show, Deprogrammed, who started off hate watching as wokesters. One of them is now one of my best friends. Imagine that. I think the attempt to play gotcha with Conceptual James by pointing to a photo he took with a fellow panelist at a conference is intellectually and morally dishonest. I don't think he has anything to explain or apologize for. Duh. Enjoy this beautiful day, Dementors. And then Purple Heart 6. It's morally dishonest to call James Lindsay a groomer for this. You know what? She might be right.
I mean, I actually agree. It is.
Yeah, it is. It is not accurate to call James Lindsay a groomer for this. I agree, Carrie. I agree.
I just don't give a shit. Fuck him.
I agree that fucking using this term where it isn't applied and just doing it for political points. I agree that's bad, Carrie. I agree with you, Carrie. Anyway,
can we talk about how social justice is a cult?
You know how
the
cults
Nikki Klein NXIVM pedophile sex ring thing? They're the same. They're like
they're the same. You know.
They're both cults. Both.
Right, so like, Carrie's religious, right?
I don't know.
Okay, we're just gonna say Carrie's a cult member. She's been indoctrinated into her cults. She doesn't know what she's doing, and we're gonna say that because she has an opinion that we disagree with. That's fair. That's fair and honest, right?
Sure.
She directly said that she thinks that I'm in a cult.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. You agree that I'm in
social justice? It's gay.
Oh, it's the gay cult?
Because you can't be gay. Yeah,
being gay is not. All right, being
your
gay.
Your father, the coal miner, found gay on the moon, and that's how it happened.
All right. Yeah, see, that's the cult, right? Me being gay, that's not part of the cult. The fact that I'm part of the moon sex orgies, that's the cult, all right? I go there every other Thursday. All right, there's meetings, there's a leader, there's a pamphlet that they give out. All right, there's a rite of initiation. That's why that's the cult, and that's why I'm in it, because it's fun and I really like Kool-Aid. But just like believing in this very, very, very vague ideology, that's not a cult. A cult, it typically has members who like sign up for something. You don't get to like decide that some other group of people are in a cult. You don't get to decide some other group of people with an ideology that you don't like, that you've defined for them. You don't get to decide that they're part of a religion. So I don't think she's a very smart person. I know she's rhetorically gifted because maybe she learned some like empathy and like ways to seem like you're being nice when you're actually being shitty from her time in social justice. But no, we're going to get her and Brian on the show. But first, I'm going to say that I don't respect either of them as people. Is that going to get them on the show?
Justin speaking for himself here. I like you both.
I don't.
I just like talking to people, though.
You're fine person. Like, you're fine people to be around. I think
I was defending the Colorado gay shooter earlier. So, I mean, like, clearly I'm a much better human being than Justin.
Mm-hmm. And... Remember, I can
Fucking
have it both.
Retards.
I can have it both ways depending on what the context is, right?
Then
I can never be wrong. That's no. In this case,
empathetic.
Hey, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. No. By going both ways, it means I can top and bottom. All right.
Yeah, cool.
Fucking learn your gay culture.
Is bisychopathy a thing? That should be a word, right? Like
bisychopathy.
Yeah, you're a psychopath and an empath all in one.
I don't know. Okay. Well. That's all I wanted to talk about. This has been a longer episode than normal.
Have fun editing it.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
You're still drunk, right?
I'm getting there.
Have fun editing it.
Okay.
Auf Wiedersehen.
No, proper intro. Proper outro.
See, you're already drunk. You fucked it up. You fucked it up. There is nothing proper about it. It's over. You fucked it up.
So you're saying we should just end on like a